They fell from the heavens. There was the beast that fell into the sea and rose up out of the sea. And that would correspond to Revelation 13 verse 1, the beast that rises up out of the sea. And they had strange craft. And they were giants, and they had supernatural powers. And yes, it is said that they took of those whom they wanted the daughters of men. And even the ancient religions admit this. But what they don't admit is that these were in fact the fallen angels, the devils. They say they were gods and goddesses and deities, and they began to worship them all the way up to the Tower of Babel and even afterwards. These were the giants that were worshipped by people, the mighty men of old. They were in fact representatives of the devils that had fallen from their first estate, which was heaven. Here's some illustrations to prove this to you. Here is a Sumerian engraving discovered on a clay cylinder. It seems to indicate some kind of an ancient flying craft floating above the ground with wings. And some have even said they can see the solar panels that are involved. Here is in stone a carving of the Zoroastrian god Ahura Mazda. And by the way, the very name Ahura, you might remember, is one of the characters from the Star Trek series. Many of the NASA space flights and Star Wars and Star Trek characters came from the names and the exploits of these ancient deities, these fallen angels. But here is Ahura Mazda in what appears to be some kind of a circular object or craft which has a landing platform on it. Notice the wings of this strange god. Then again we have some other pictures of this. Here from the South American and Central American area of this globe, we have what has been said to be a Mayan from the Maya tribe, the Mayan astronaut. The Mayan astronaut. It is said that these ancient deities, these gods and goddesses, these interplanetary beings that came to this planet also left us incredible monuments such as the pyramids and Stonehenge in Great Britain. Here we have some medallions, and notice what they appear to be. The first figure here is the divided bull. And then we have a tree on the right which represents Nimrod, the mighty one who built the Tower of Babel. Notice the bull, the man who had horns and yet was a bull, but he's torn asunder. He's torn asunder, of course, as were all of the gods and the goddesses, these Nephilim, the Rephaim, the giants. When the flood came, they were destroyed. And I believe this ancient coin, and that's what this basically is, or medallion, indicates. You notice the little dolphin above the head of this ancient beast. He was rendered asunder, cut asunder in half when the flood came and killed them all. Here we have what appears to be a king riding a dragon. And notice the strange occultic code there in the book. Is this not Apollyon, Abaddon, Satan? Here's a famous painting. It seems to be a woman lying on a bed while she is being tormented by devils. Is this some indication all the way back to Genesis, where the sons of God, meaning the fallen angels, had sexual intercourse relations, took whoever they wanted of the women of earth, and as Jesus said, as it was in the days of Noah? And we have to understand too, when we return to the Bible, it says there were giants in those days and afterwards. Now for some reason or other, even after the flood, God allowed some of these giants to come back, to return for whatever reason. For example, in the book of Deuteronomy and the books of the Kings and Exodus, we read about them. We read about the Anakim. I think Zechariah Sitchin, a very well-known author today, who talks about the planet Nibiru coming back, sort of planet X. He calls them the Anunnaki, but the Bible calls them the Anakim. We know of the scouts of Joshua and they came upon men who appeared to be giants, and they said, "We are like grasshoppers in their sight." We know of Goliath, the giant that was slain by David. The Bible talks about Og, king of Bashan. Did you know that he was over 18 foot tall, according to the Bible? 18 foot tall. Yes, these were mighty men, but they were more than that. I believe they were men whose blood was tainted, and maybe God, for punishment, turned them into beast. Half men, half beast. Look at all of these mythological creatures, the gods and the goddesses, and the creatures with their supposedly supernatural powers that the ancients tell us about. And many men today are now writing books and occult histories, and they're writing of these mythologies, and they're telling us these gods and goddesses are going to return again, even in the form of interplanetary extraterrestrials. Here is a picture of Mithra, Diana, the Hindu goddess Kali, the Hindu deity Ganesha. There's the Hindu god Krishna. Here we have a half man, half beast. We have Medusa, the goddess whose entire head or scalp was full of serpents or snakes. Athena, she is the goddess that sits atop the Capitol building of the United States even today. Imagine that connection. Here is Atlas. It is said he held up the world. Cyclops, who had an all-seeing eye in his forehead. Apollo and Daphne. Hercules, the strongest of the gods for a time. Icarus. Scylla. The famous Spanish painter Goya pictured Satan as a giant. And look at the giant that Goya painted. And there are more. Here from an ancient occult book is Pan, the horned god with cloven hoofs and a face like the sun and horns. And notice he's playing his bagpipe. And to the side of him is, of course, the star. He is a fallen star, we're told. Here, yet again, is another strange creature, Pan, god of the forest. This is in the National Library of Paris, France. Here we see the Orion constellation, and there you see a medallion in the corner, and that is of the ancient Norse goddess Frigg. Here we have other cloven hoof angels and a Latin inscription. These angels are very common in Freemasonry. Notice, if you will, please, their cloven hoofs and what appears to be some kind of a serpentine lower half of the body. Are these not fallen angels? From ancient Babylon, we have these bulls. Notice the head of the man, body of the bull, and they're winged creatures as well. Here we have a sphinx-like creature. Then we have Anubis, the jackal-headed god. Baphomet, whom it is said the Masons and the Knights Templar worshipped. Look at the star in his forehead. We have the Minotaur and many other mythological creatures. Were these the fallen angels? Do they represent the fallen angels who came to earth? And is Planet X indicative of these creatures? Recently, Mason, in fact, he's the cameraman for this production today, gave me a copy of this book. He said, "Tex, you will find this